For those of you who didn't bring a resume with you, it's okay. It's okay. I want you just to think about something that's on your resume because you'll use that when you design your activity for your portfolio. So we're going to go ahead and get started. For the two people in the room who don't know me, my name's Julie Maurer and I work for CCI. The reason why I got interested in portfolios is we changed one of our certifications from an exam, which everybody's familiar with, to a portfolio. So in my research and getting that credential switched over, I got very interested in this method for evaluating competency. So that's the background for that. This is a disclaimer. I'm not trying to sell you anything today, but because I work for CCI, our accreditation body requires us to say that anything that I tell you today doesn't enhance your ability to be successful on any of our certifications. And you don't need to purchase anything from us to be successful either. Here's our objectives. We're going to look at the history of portfolio development, and we're going to look at what things would go into your portfolio, and then we're going to do some practice with helping you design a basic framework for your portfolio. So that's what we're going to be doing for the next hour. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Not really. Not very well? Okay. I'll try to get a little bit closer. Okay, a little background about CCI. We're based in Denver. We are in the same building as AORN, but we're not connected with them from a business standpoint. We're a separate organization. Those are our three credentials. Most people are aware of our CNOR, and our CSSM is our Surgical Services Manager. Our CNSCP is kind of a well-kept secret, and that's for our advanced practice clinical nurse specialists working in the perioperative setting. We are in the process of designing a new credential for ambulatory nurses. So we're always looking to see what things we can do to help you validate your competence in the perioperative setting. Okay, so portfolios, where'd they come from? It's derived from the Latin words for sheet and carry, and its primary purpose is to display achievement of an accomplishment or professional competence. So that's what portfolios are meant to do. We are not the first and probably not the best profession that uses portfolios. Architects and artists have been using them for hundreds of years. And certainly teachers and students use them as well. Has anyone used a portfolio in their academic as an instructor? Okay. Okay.
Arizona Nurses Association for probably 10 or 15 years has invited a lot of nurses in portfolio direction.
Nice. Okay. And before I get carried away, I want to do a little bit of a poll. Who here provides direct patient care? Okay. And who considers themselves an educator? That's part of their role. Ooh, bunch of you. And who's a manager? Okay. All right. So let's see what's in these people's portfolio. Artists may actually bring in pictures that they've done or drawings, right, for you to look at. Or they'll say, go to this gallery and look at my picture. So we're looking at a tangible expression of what they do. Okay. Now that we have the internet, we can go and look at their pictures on the internet. A teacher might use things like syllabi or course evaluations as examples of the quality of their work. Yes. Architects may bring in blueprints, they may bring in floor plans, they actually may bring in a little model, right, of something that they've either designed or they are hoping to develop with a new employer. And students, your transcript from school, examples of papers that you've done. So all of these have a common thread that it's something that you can hold in your hand or look at. So that's really the essence of a portfolio, is it's not just me telling you, it's me showing you. The United Kingdom countries are light years ahead of us in terms of portfolio development, and the references at the end of this presentation, a lot of them come from foreign journals. Nurse midwives in England are required to develop a portfolio. The nurses in Saskatchewan, to even renew their license, have to do a portfolio. And it's not just putting in their documents, it's they get peer comments as well. So they have a peer who is evaluating them, as well as them providing evidence. So they take it very seriously. It's not only for certification or recertification like we think it might be, it's to get their license or to renew their license. So these countries have seen the value of someone demonstrating their competence in order to be given a license to practice. Some of our healthcare provider colleagues use portfolios way more than we do. Your residents. Is that too loud?
No.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. You guys have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, our residents, radiology, dietitians, all of them use portfolios. For us in the clinical setting, we do not use portfolios. We just started to see the value of that. So in terms of big picture, portfolio can do a lot of different things that makes it a really nice tool. We talked about providing things that you can hold in your hand. It identifies you personally. Okay, so you can personalize it, you can make it your own. It can be both motivating and motivated, but you get to run the bus in terms of what you put into your portfolio. So you're self-directed, you're creative in the things that you put in. It's a dynamic tool. It's not just what I'm doing right now, but I can keep altering it based on how my practice, my experience changes over the years. So it's not just a one-trick pony. I can keep using it throughout my entire professional career. And who wouldn't want to have these attributes identified with them? Who wouldn't want to work with a person who has these attributes? Okay, so we're going to go through each of these and look at how we can use a portfolio. We're going to look at how we can use it to monitor competencies, performance evals, career progression, employment opportunities, and for certification and recertification. So you can see right away, this is a nimble tool. We can use it for a lot of different things. When you pass your NCLEX, when you pass your certification exam, you're happy, you're excited and proud, but you really can't use that exam for anything else. The portfolio you can use for lots of different things. Okay, monitoring competencies. We can use this instead of, for my educators in the room, right? You've got the Excel spreadsheet with the check. Everybody's name is checked off and maybe the date. Or you've got your report from your computer-based competencies. Check. What does that show? I would hazard to guess that that's not measuring competency. That's measuring attendance. And maybe endurance, depending on how long the course was. So that may not be the best way to measure the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that someone needs to be displaying independently to do their job. If we design our portfolio correctly, this will meet accreditation requirements. It should be more than just a bucket to dump documents in, however. So let's look at how we can make it more valuable, even more valuable. And certainly we'll put documents in there. We'll put a copy of our nursing license and our BLS card and all those things that are required for the facility. But let's think about how else we can use it. We can use it for performance evaluations. Your manager or if you're a manager, you're typically given a form from HR, right? With the job description, and here's all the things that you have to evaluate this person on for the year. And you're probably using the same tool that the ED nurses get, ICU nurses get, med-surg nurses get, and you make it work, right? Sometimes we can individualize a statement or two, but many times not. We all know that our practice is very different from those other areas. So how nice would it be if you had a tool that your staff brought to you and they showed you their competence? The nice thing about a portfolio is it's not just what I'm doing right now, but I can identify things that I would like to do in the future. So you can see already that this is a way to motivate the staff. And I know that a lot of you, I can see your brains working, and you're going, I could never get my staff to do this. They are dug in and entrenched in the old way of doing things. They would much rather go to the skills fair once a year and then check off than say, here's how I'm confident in scrubbing for it. Okay? So right away, you got some pushback, but I would throw that back at that person's performance evaluation and go, you know what? Performance evaluation is knowledge, skills, and attitude. So let's work on that piece. And they start out small. One thing. I'd like you to identify one thing, and that's the first activity in your handout, is identifying one thing that you'd like to put in your portfolio. So I'll give you a couple minutes, or a minute, to think about what that one thing. Everybody can identify one thing. What, for you personally, it could be a skill, something that you're proud of. Okay, start out with that. Some accomplishment, some skill, some success story. And it probably would also be on your resume. So think about what's on your resume. Okay, so I'm going to let you think about that. We're going to keep going. You can use your portfolio for career progression. People that use clinical ladders, you know that you got certain things you need to accomplish to move to the next rung. Those are great things to put in your portfolio. You can use them for promotions. And demonstrating professional contributions. What you're doing is you're capturing examples of success that best exemplify you and your practice. This is a nice adjunct to a CV or resume. And if there's 40 people applying for a position, you may be the only one who uses a portfolio to demonstrate your competence. You are different, and being different in situations like this makes you more attractive and desirable. Okay, and for certification and recertification, we talked about turning our CNSCP credential into a portfolio. We're not the only ones. The Wound-Ostomy Continence has actually been doing this for a long time. But their portfolio is more, they have logs. There's not a peer review section to it or a reflective component. And we included both of those in our portfolio. And that might be something that you might want to do as well, is not just have the document, but a little bit of narrative explaining its importance in whatever it is that you have chosen as your skill or activity. So let's look at what we're going to put into our portfolio. Most people start out with a CV or a resume. Okay, so if you don't have one, it's a really good idea to make one. You never know when it's going to be come in handy. And then when you update your CV or resume, that's when you update your portfolio as well. So I thought, what's the difference between a curriculum vitae and a resume? So I did some homework. Most places, when they say they want your CV, they really don't. They don't want 17 pages of when you were a nurse's aide in 1972. They want what makes you qualified for the position that you're applying for. So they really want a resume, which is way more focused on providing the skills for that particular position. Depending though, I mean, if you're in an academic setting, a tenure track position, yes, they do want a CV. Okay, the portfolio then becomes a reservoir for invisible learning. So for a lot of your skills, and a lot of you may have put down some kind of a skill for the one thing you want to put in your portfolio. These outer bubbles are hard to measure. They may not be captured in your current evaluations. So let's look at an example. I'm going to give you an example of critical thinking. I work in an outpatient surgery center that's connected to a hospital. And we have 2 microscopes that we use for tip and tubes. And I'm getting my cases ready for the next day. And I know that one of the microscopes is out for repair. And I know on the schedule that there are 2 cases that need the microscope at the same time. Now I can approach this a couple of different ways. I might think, I'm going to get up 15 minutes early, get that one microscope and get it in my room before that other room gets it, right? I don't think that fits into any of those bubbles. Let's say, okay, I'm going to talk with my charge nurse, tell them about the conflict with the equipment. Maybe they can change the schedule around. Dr. Barsh can do his tonsillectomy while Dr. Crimsler's doing his tip and tubes. They call the patients. They get them coming in at a little bit different time. Everybody's happy. Rather than waiting until 7:28 in the morning and going, oh my gosh, we've only got one microscope. So that's my example of critical thinking. How do I demonstrate that? I could have a copy of the schedule with the double book rooms. I could write a little narrative of what I did. I could have the manager sign it. I could even have the surgeon sign it. And then I could have a copy of the new schedule where the cases are moved around to accommodate practice. Is that more effective than saying obtains the equipment and supplies necessary in that case with the check? So it doesn't have to be hard. And we do this every day, but we don't take credit for it. So ideas to get started. Looking at what the essence of your job is. What is it that you are required to do? Look at your role. Look at your job description. If you haven't seen your job description for a while, it's a good idea to brush that off because that's going to help drive a lot of what goes into your portfolio. Look at what's facility required. You know, everybody has to do their, their BLS. They have to do their fire safety and all your annual competencies. Then look at what's on your resume. Pull some things off that. Some core competencies based on your specialty. If you've specialized and are asked to have additional knowledge on positioning equipment, types of patients, types of cases, look at those types of things. Look at what your facility expects in terms of mission and values and vision. So those are all ideas then of getting started with things to put in your portfolio. When I choose the evidence, when I choose the proof, there's a couple of things that I need to do. I need to make sure it's relevant, that it matches my description of the activity. I may need to prioritize. Portfolio is not a good place to just dump everything that you can find. It needs to be focused on that activity. Okay? So So here's some examples of evidence. And they're just examples. You'll think of others, but think about all the things that you do. Whether you do presentations, it doesn't have to be a dissertation, it may be a blog. It may be you write something on OR Nursery to get a discussion going. Okay? Everybody does audits. Peer reviews, thank you notes, and we don't get thanked a lot from our patients because they're many times under the influence of some mind-altering drug. But if you do, or if a surgeon says thank you, just have to write it down, and then you can put it in your portfolio. So these are just all examples of things that you can use as evidence. But there are a lot of unique ways to display this evidence. So everybody here has in their hand a way to take a picture and record. So it doesn't have to be only written. You could have pictures of things, you could have recordings, you could have documents, all, webinars. They record our presentations here, so that's an example. All kinds of unique ways to display our evidence. Okay, so you identified one thing that you want to put in your portfolio. One piece of evidence that demonstrates your competence. I'm going to give you 20 seconds to think of something that you could use. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be big. It may just be a narrative. Okay, is it kind of coming together? A little bit, yeah. Okay, so what are some things besides just demonstrating our competency that a portfolio can do for staff, people who take care of patients? Collection of evidence that validates competent practice. I looked ahead to make sure that everybody had the equipment they needed to do their cases at 7:30. We can include records of our learning goals, progress towards meeting those goals. And it's really an easy way to identify additional learning needs. Maybe it would have been nice if the scheduler had known that microscope was out for repair, and then she wouldn't have put those two pieces like that. So maybe there's a learning opportunity there that I could help with. For my managers in the room, quick way, if you have somebody come in that you're interviewing for a job, you get a really good sense really fast for the quality and depth of this person's work. Way more than a cover letter and a resume. It can be used for anybody. I think everybody in this room is a nurse, but you could use this for anybody. You could use this for your environmental service people, your scrub techs, anesthesia techs, people in SPD. Anybody can identify one thing and provide the evidence to back them up. It's a more accurate way to document employee performance than a checklist and a date. It also makes your employee accountable, and who doesn't want to have accountable employees? Everybody does. But this is help saying, okay, you're driving the bus here. You show me what your practice looks like. And then it gives your staff an opportunity to demonstrate things that you may not even be aware of that influences their work, but is done outside. So their participation in professional organizations or speaking at a conference, all those things may not be part of their job that you would see listed in their job description, but it certainly enhances their value as your employee. Educators, for my educators in the room, you could use this in orientation from the very beginning. Okay, your preceptors will probably love this. Because rather than just checking somebody out, they spent 2 weeks in ortho, so now they're competent to scrub a 12B. They're actually able to provide some evidence. It will, if you set these up correctly, it will meet accreditation requirements for documentation, for documenting staff competencies. When Joint Commission comes in, they don't care how you do it, but they'll ask, how do you know that your staff are competent to do this job? And we can give them the Excel spreadsheet, or we can give them a portfolio. We can look at trends that come up through the portfolio that may show gaps in our educating of our staff. So we might see some opportunities for ourselves as educators. And it also incorporates principles of adult learning. Motivation, task-centered, self-directed, being responsible. Those are all attributes of adult learning that we rarely exploit through traditional methods of evaluation. Okay, so now we're going to work on our own portfolio. When we look at competency, we're looking at knowledge, skills, attitudes to do our jobs independently and safely. So that's a kind of a quick down and dirty definition. So how is your competency measured in your workplace? And these are just some examples. When I was an educator, this is what we used. We used checklists. We had a skills fair. And we had the level 1, and we had the glucometer, and we had the Zoll defibrillator, and people go around, and I had my best nurses demonstrate those pieces of equipment. So they'd show the person how to do it, and the person would get signed, and they'd go to the next station. Whose competency is being evaluated? The nurse showing them how to do it. So unless there's some kind of return echo of the skill, they can't do it. So I think we have some flaws in the way we evaluate people's performance. Everybody takes tests, test. And that's one way to measure knowledge. But if the activity involves some kind of a skill, you can't get to it with a test. So tests are okay, but very little of what we actually do is only knowledge-based. Truth is, it's hard to find one way to measure all 3 components of competency. It's tough. A portfolio allows a better chance of somebody being able to demonstrate all of those 3 attributes. So we're going to start working on our portfolios. And right away, there's no one right way. Everybody's going to look different, and that's okay, because we said this is something that's personalized. So it's what I feel is important. For the purposes of this, we're going to look at 4 areas, and everybody has these 4 areas: your education, your performance, community service, and continuing education. So in your workbook, you can start working on this, and you don't have to fill it all out, but just to have an idea of what you would put in education, the education section. And you probably want to put your CV, your resume. You may want to put your transcripts or your certificate that you graduated from scrub tech school, whatever it is that shows that you have the qualifications to do your job from an education standpoint. Copy of your nursing license. Is there anything else that you would like to put in the education part of your portfolio? It's not on this list. Okay. I would put the certificate that hasn't expired. So the current one. You can certainly put in your resume that you've had the certification since 1989. You don't need the documentation. Good question.
If you've given a presentation or contributed to a blog or an article, so like your presentation is 35 pages long, how do you put that in the portfolio? Do you just do it in a format?
Okay. First of all, it will be on your resume. Publish an article. How will I know what your article is like? Do I need to read the whole 35 pages? Can I read an abstract? So you may want to have the abstract. Well, those are really good questions. When you have so much stuff in the portfolio, people kind of get bogged down and they won't take the able to go through it. So yeah, kind of keeping it a little bit short and sweet, but those are really good questions. Okay, performance. Here's where I put my job description, my evaluations from my supervisor, maybe some letters of reference, annual competencies. Maybe I got an award. Anything else you'd like to put in performance? And what evidence would you use to prove your competency?
Education program that you developed for your organization. Show competence.
Sure, sure.
But also your evaluations from your students. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Jim. Because go ahead, Carol. Yes. There he is. Yeah, so you get the hang of it. Yeah. And I could certainly, I would put this presentation on my resume, right? Jim says I can use my evaluations from all of you that I actually did this. Is there anything else that I could do? Oh, yeah. Or the link to the recording. Yeah. I got my supervisor sitting here. All of us can't be observed all the time, but I would take advantage of that and ask for her feedback. I could take a picture of the poster out there that has the name of my presentation on it. All kinds of ways, but you really do want to have things like evaluations that I didn't just show up, but the quality of my work. Yes, ma'am.
A link to your LinkedIn profile, because if you have recommendations from people, so if you're active on LinkedIn, you can ask people to provide recommendations for you in many different fields or many different topics. So for the people in this room as an educator, staffers, recommendations.
Look at how you guys are thinking outside. I like it. Okay.
Julie,
Yes.
for my wife's employer, for the nurses when patients and families get feedback, they get a summary. So she occasionally gets thank you notes or comment notes from her patients.
Yeah, those are really nice. The other thing is peer reviews. Okay. Community service. Support of our specialty organizations. And it may be I'm on the roster, but maybe I'm on a committee, or I'm an officer, or I provided a webinar for somebody. So those are all ways that show that you're doing a little bit more and you're applying what you do every day to another audience. Any other ideas for community or service work? Yes.
Like if you do like a walk for life or something to promote patients, or you go on medical missions or health fairs.
Yes, yes, excellent. Yes, ma'am.
Where I live,
County. Seattle Center Foundation puts on a clinic will receive over a period of 4 days over 4,000 patients, and all the medical care and services are provided free to those patients. And I serve as patient triage nurse. And asking the patients why you're here, what would you like us to address while you're here, and doing a patient intake, almost like when you would see a detailed physical, but it's the problem, and then the recommended services that this patient gets, and then walking them through that process. And I think we get something like in excess of $5 million with care in that 4 maybe 4 or 5 days. That's awesome.
Yes.
That is patients are suffering. But there's no way of showing it other than something like this. You know, it's just a.
I don't know. I think we got some good brains in the room. How would you demonstrate that you assisted with this pictures? You have to be careful that you access your patient's privacy, but certainly you know, maybe standing by the sign. Yes. Okay. I'm sure the patients say thank you. Because we'll get a copy of something like that. Yeah. Okay. Carol. Sure. Yeah. A lot of organizations have a thank you birth certificate. Yes.
Your organization is a non-profit, so it has some sort of a tax form, it's called the community benefits form, and for managers or employees out if they're engaged in that service. So the community benefit, the non-profit organization will be providing those.
Okay. Great. The other thing I was thinking when you described the form that you fill out is to take the patient identifier off and show how you would assess a patient and have a copy of the form. Just there's lots of them. Don't give up.
These are all scanned also, so the patient has to be marked. They come back to the
All right. Great ideas. Continuing education. Everybody here, that's why you're here, to learn new things and take them back to your setting. And everybody's used to the contact hour certificate of attendance, right? Which doesn't really say that you're going to go home and implement this, but it means that you were there. So it's a start. It's a start, but you may want to expand on that in your portfolio and talk about how you applied that. I went to a presentation on portfolios and I came home and I identified one thing that I wanted to collect evidence on, and here it is. So you applied what you learned. Anything else that you would want to put in continuing education? It doesn't have to be a formal contest, yes ma'am.
A lot of times when we, well, when the hospital pays for you to go, then we give an in-service and talk about what we learned, how we can apply it, and how it'll benefit the department.
Nice.
You could even follow up after that on if you do implement some of the things that, you know, how it did benefit.
Yes, yes. And that gives you an opportunity then to identify what you would like to do as a learning opportunity in the future based on that too. Yeah. Excellent. So even if your hospital doesn't require it, it might be a nice thing to share with your staff. Yes.
On like your website, and print out a transcript of all
Okay. So having the list instead of individual. Yeah. Good. Okay. Excellent. Okay, we need to talk a little bit when we talked about, you know, working with people during this this giant health fair, or if you're talking about patients, we need to make sure that we're respecting their privacy. So we shouldn't be taking pictures of them without their permission. We shouldn't be putting patient identifiers in our portfolios. So following the same HIPAA requirements that you use for your patient charting should also apply to your portfolio. Dawn knows the percentage of postings on social media that come from work. It's some huge number.
Yeah, it's like 40% of work, and like 20% of those have patient information.
Yeah. So we don't want to be part of that problem. And portfolio is not an excuse for reporting unsafe practice. Your portfolio should include best practices. It shouldn't have examples of unethical, illegal, working outside your scope of practice, even though you may have had amazing results. If you were not working under what your state board says you can, you're breaking the law. It shouldn't be in your portfolio. Okay, so we've learned that a portfolio can document a commitment to lifelong learning. Makes me proud of what I've accomplished. And that's what you'll feel that, and if you're a manager or an educator, you'll see that in what people do with their portfolios. Serves as a platform for identifying my future learning goals. What would I do differently next time? It's a celebration. We should be proud to be nurses. And this gives us a great platform to demonstrate that.